A lot of stuff going on. 3 major things going on. Romeo Crennel is in Kansas City. Hugh Jackson is out in Oakland. And Mike Mularkey, we just found out, has now been hired in Jacksonville.
Yes, sir.
My notes say Mike Mularkey - Atlanta.
He was from Atlanta. That's where he was the offensive
That's why I
coordinator.
got confused. And I'm like, where is he again? Did he know it's not St. Louis? Anyway. Why don't we start with Romeo Crennel? I think a lot of people actually kind of saw this coming down the pipeline, especially after they beat the Packers in week, I think it was 16. So what do you think? Go ahead.
I like the move. Keeping Romeo Crennel. I think this division is winnable by any team in the division next year. You never know with Norv Turner being back as the Chargers coach whether they'll underachieve again. Hugh Jackson, of course, we'll talk about that in a minute. Denver could possibly win the division, but Kansas City could win the division with Jamal Charles coming back, with Matt Castle and Kyle Orton battling for a playoff job. And instead of scrapping everything you've already done, you keep a guy who's already been there. So you keep everything going down that same path. You keep a little continuity. And, you keep all that going, and you have a pretty good situation in Kansas City then. So, good move to keep him.
Adam, tell me about Hugh Jackson. Were you surprised that he got fired?
Just by the recent trend of what Oakland's been doing, I'm not. If you think about Hugh Jackson, after Al Davis passed away, he was the guy making all the personnel moves in Oakland. He was the one that pulled off the trade for Carson Palmer that we all remember, where Oakland just surrendered a bounty of draft picks. So now that Oakland brought in Reggie McKenzie from Green Bay to be their GM, it's their first GM in franchise history. Al Davis' son, Mark, wanted a football guy to be in charge of everything, and I believe Reggie McKenzie's mind that he wanted to hire his own coach. And there's been word from league sources that Hugh Jackson had too much control in Oakland. So as much as a good coach, he got the team to an 8-8 record. Yeah, they fell once Darren McFadden got hurt and so on. But Reggie McKenzie wants to clean house, and Hugh Jackson's noted that in his press conference. So this is McKenzie's first move to create a new culture and a new imprint on the franchise. I'm not surprised at all. It kind of stinks for Hugh Jackson's standpoint because Oakland looks like it's heading in the right direction, but I totally can understand this move.
Do you think that Hugh Jackson is going to be a marketable candidate for some of these other jobs?
For an offensive coordinator job, yeah, I think he's could be in the running for a job somewhere. Yeah, I mean, I think he's shown that he could do an offense. I think his head just exploded when he got given so much power after Al Davis, passed away. He got to a point where he had control over everything, and he started acting that part. And some of his press conferences really, I think, turned some people off. And then you lose those games at the end of the season when you had a chance to go to the playoffs. You were in first place, with 3 weeks to go left in the season, and you found a way to lose some games down the stretch. So that really hurt Hugh Jackson. As far as what I'm reading on Twitter, hearing from all the NFL experts, Reggie McKenzie's looking at Green Bay linebacker coach Winston Moss. He's actually looking at 3 members of the Green Bay coaching staff.
Not surprising.
As possibly being the next coach. Why not, right? That's a pretty good franchise.
It seems like he's trying to bring that culture over to Oakland.
And Mark Davis, not being a football guy, taking over as that, like Al Davis, football guy. He was a football coach. He was actually better equipped to be a GM when he had all his marbles in his head than Jerry Jones is now. Because Jerry Jones is not that football guy Al Davis was. But Mark Davis brought in, John Madden and former Packer GM Ron Wolf to be advisors through this process. They bring in McKenzie, and, we'll see if Oakland fixes some of their problems and maybe is not the most penalized team in the league for the next 5 years.
Also, I have to note Mark Davis in that press conference yesterday on Tuesday when he was asked, are you going to do it in Oakland or are you going to make this happen somewhere else? And he said, quote, something will get done somewhere.
Oh, wow.
Unquote.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
We'll see what happens. LA has got those construction crews out there.
They want a team. They want a team, and the Raiders have already been there. I mean, that's one team that actually does have a fan base, maybe still in LA. Maybe them and the Rams. Those are 2 teams that actually might have. Other than that, you just got Giant fans, and Jet fans, and Eagle fans, and Redskin fans, and Cowboy fans. That's what LA's made of,
Right. It's a melting pot of not just people, but of football fans. Certainly, I think the base of LA would like to see that change and really bring a team in there again. Let's talk about Mike Mularkey on the Jags. This is quite a task he's undertaking. With Blaine Gabbert and the rest of that team. He's got Maurice Jones-Drew in place and like a so-so defense, but really this is maybe the worst team in football, definitely one of the worst three. So I'll go to you, A-Roz. What do you think of the Mike Mularkey hire?
I mean, it was more like a ho-hum hire to me. Yeah, he's had some head coaching experience with Buffalo, didn't have too much success with them. He's shown to be a pretty good offensive coordinator. Look what he's done in Atlanta, turning that group of talent into a pretty prolific offense. But he's got a much bigger challenge ahead of him in Jacksonville. Other than Maurice Jones-Drew, I really don't see any talent on this offense. I don't really believe Blaine Gabbert's the answer at quarterback. I think this group of receivers, as they were slightly average last year, really took a big step backwards this year. Even Mercedes Lewis, their tight end, a guy some would argue was Pro Bowl talent, really digressed this season as well. So they've got a lot of work ahead of them to rebuild this offense. Their defense was mainly good this year because they brought a lot of key free agents. A lot of them got hurt at the end of the year. So I'm not sure if the defense will still be as good next year as it was this year. So they got a lot of work cut out for them. And I think the weird thing is about Jacksonville, Mularkey is their third head coach in their team's history. I don't think he's going to be there too long.
Yeah, I mean, really hard. You hire a guy because you want to fix the offense. That was obviously the big thing. They are going to try to keep Mel Tucker, as far as I understand, as the defensive coordinator, see if he accepts that job. He was, of course, the interim head coach after Jack Del Rio got fired. So Mike Mularkey, you bring him in. You're trying to fix the offense. He has had some success with quarterbacks in the past, doing some things with Matt Ryan. Although, from what I understand, too, Atlanta, if Mularkey didn't go out and get another job somewhere, he might have been relieved of his post after, the pretty lousy playoff performance that the Atlanta offense had against the New York Giants. Now, the Giants played great defense in that game too. Still, you may want to move in a different direction when you can't score a single point offensively in a playoff game.